I'm an extremely logical person. I read thousands of posts and watched as many or perhaps more videos on this topic for almost a year now, starting from when my life started falling apart. The results exceeded my rational mind's expectations, feeling almost magical, so I'm word vomiting everything I could remember to resonate, help someone potentially. My circumstance appeared quite impossible. Up until 2 weeks ago till the unfolding, I was still overwhelmed, panicked, repeating my circumstances due to lingering feelings, and almost gave up in multiple ways many times. Yet during the next 14 days, results would burst in like floodgates. In fact, the first half of this story is about my other successes, and in the midst of finishing it up, I had received communication from my SP. My go-to techniques at the start are visualization, affirmations, and overnight sound bites, subliminal, spoken ones, binaural. Though to be frank, I gradually only use them when my body nudges me to do it naturally, which is once in a blue moon. Personally, I find that if I push myself to do something in order to get my results, my chest would feel heavy as if I was pushing against a wall that won't budge, or what you guys call taking action from a desperate state. The more content I absorbed, the terms began losing meaning to me. There were lots of interpretations and perspectives that appeared repetitive at the same time. So I got frustrated, ditching the scientific explanations, mechanics, and definitions altogether. This is why you won't find much of the common phrases here. It was difficult since I would relapse, seeking out hours of videos to watch, almost frantic-like to get one last piece of information that will speed it up. This is where I began switching back and forth from my analytical brain and imagination. I can now confidently say that you aren't missing a damn thing. There are plenty of folks who aren't informed about the law that have had miracles happen to them. Dreams are coming true every day without them having elaborate routines to manifest what they want, loads who have partners, and money, whose self-concepts are deemed to be flawed. All techniques work, though which one brings you the most joy doing? If none are fun, you don't have to do anything at all, live your life the best you can, and the law will still be a law and work eventually regardless of external proof of change. If what you're experiencing rubs you the wrong way constantly, redetermine the meaning of it to make you feel whatever you need to feel instead. Ultimately, this will differ from person to person, which is why multiple things can be true at once. That's the nature of life. For instance, the main thing I struggled with was trust. It was a do this, to get your desired thing for me too. Despite numerous supernatural events that I've witnessed firsthand or heard, I wouldn't think it'd work for me, due to mainly childhood trauma and me often feeling the grief and anger of the life I could have had, if XYZ didn't happen. I thought that it would hinder my incorrect manifestation. Every single law is always in motion. Even if we can't observe it with our eyes, and regardless of other people consistently believing in it, the law of gravity will always actively work. Scientists can explain how it works like how we can form our own explanations of the mechanisms of law of assumption. The emotions you have are there to remind you of where you are and won't delay anything. You can feel it entirely, let it wash over you from head to toe, express them, and purge them or whichever way you desire to. Knowing that, the grip I had on trying to control my reality was loosened. I had turned what I thought were my biggest limitations, my emotions and overly critical mind, into what it really is, a strength. I began to truly work on myself, dismantling my way of thinking to the core because of the relief and clarity it gave me instead of doing it for the wish. The rest will follow. You can say that it was because I stopped pointing an overly stretched rubber band at my head and finally lived however I wanted, without restraints or rules, fears of ruining my manifestations. During this time I was naturally dreaming lots more with images of an ideal future life, but never had a specific one I'd repeat. The peace I experienced throughout them was what I clung to instead. I'd pinpoint the location where the serenity resides in my heart and sense it spreading throughout my being. Doing this made my reality more tolerable to deal with, despite it taunting and mocking me in the face every day in an attempt to get me to let go of my dreams. But once you're absolutely locked onto your end goal, nothing will get you to waver from it even though your senses tell you otherwise. My chest hurt and felt like it was suffocating, crying when I slept next to my abusers, yet I allowed those feelings to be there. The path was entirely empty in front of me, pitch dark. No wonder I'm scared. I put in the effort to be kind to myself, that it's alright to be afraid. Do it while your knees are shaking if you must, as long as you come back to where you want to be in the end. If you don't have the strength to today, that's okay also. Let yourself be upset at the universe or whomever whatever, then settle back when you're ready. That was when my first results came. I didn't aim as big as I am now, so in the initial stage of its unfolding, I had thought I'd failed as everything broke down around me, but I ended up getting my own room. It seems minor though to me, a very grandiose event since I've been sharing the same bedroom with my toxic family members for 2 decades now. This manifestation occurring granted me a space to think and the ability to dream bigger now that I know what was possible plus available to me. So began the testing phase and practicing consistency. Every result gave me the courage to shoot higher each time, excited for more. The relatives that I was estranged with because of the false narrative spread about me, reached out again out of the blue to hear me out. They empathize with me, offering to provide me with a free EV vehicle with all expenses covered that will be sorted in the near future, offering their home for me to have a third place to go. The family members mellowed out tenfold to the point I was getting whiplash, something I only wished for briefly in a list I made. We're currently packing to move in a few months to a newly built, cheaper, and better house with loads of parking space with an EV charger, despite the HO, who's much nicer than our current, needing a tenant to come in right away. Reconnecting with acquaintances I hadn't talked to, some I had isolated myself from due to my mental state prior, offering me jobs that would offer training and friendly coworkers, free paid trips, free food anytime I mention I'm hungry, automatically offering rides, listening plus responding without judgment, giving sound advice, and helping me see what unconditional love really is. Coincidentally, while I was enjoying bonding with my friends, the person from my story nearly 3 years ago, SP, walked in front, attempting to greet me, but I had zoned out and hadn't clicked who it was until she walked away. At this time, I started having precognitive dreams for a bit. I kept a dream journal, and had my first recurring sequence with her in a concerning context. At this point, I wasn't thinking about manifesting her, but still shot a message to her social media for it. I felt lighter with that off my conscience until all the memories came rushing back. With that came the realization she's still my ideal type, along with the nagging doubts that she was straight plus related conversations that confirmed it from her friends, more well-liked, popular, and that I was creepy reaching out even though we weren't close. I sobbed about all of it for a few days, and a breakthrough came when I rehashed my past with her, realizing she's always chosen me. I just didn't acknowledge it in the slightest in my misery, plus self-wallowing in my story. She's always initiated while I constantly flee because of my anxiety of making others uncomfortable and many correlating fears I had to urge, to investigate at the time. That was a huge revelation that lifted weight off my shoulders, letting me fully sink into the knowing that my feelings were reciprocated after all. I held on to it. Lo and behold, my notifications went haywire. I opened the phone and my jaw dropped. It was an entire essay of her apologizing about why she couldn't reply earlier, had to build confidence to ask me out after so long but fussed about it being perfect, how much she thought I felt like home, missing me, having insecurities of her own but wanting to make it work, and even planned a date if I reciprocated. I rejected her call at the time. Again, my nerves are a tad shot from reading that, but we're calling soon to discuss. To be honest, if I asked myself literally 2 weeks ago, I couldn't have seen this outcome happening from a mile away, and I'm thankful for that. Never in a million years can I have imagined receiving something as sweet and with so much heart like the things she wrote in those messages. I guess the last tidbit is that receiving your desires doesn't have to evoke an outlandish emotion. There were numerous wishes granted that I expected and felt normal about. You know what works for you. Trust in that and the law. Laws are meant to predict what happens in the natural world by Google definition. You can't possibly stop it from happening even though you fret about it not working, missing out on doing techniques that day. It's tough to summarize it all, but navigate through your journey in your own way, not through others' definitions. Let yourself be human above all. You'll meet others that repeat rhetoric all the time, I'm guilty too, and if you take in everything without question, information that won't resonate or feel right with you will weigh you down. Multitudes of things can be true and work all at once. The moment I placed myself first and did what brought me excitement, I was able to navigate through the rest naturally, leading me right to my destination in unimaginable ways. Thank you for taking your time to read this extremely lengthy story. Take what you want from it, as I simply felt the urge to share some of the joy after coming out of an extremely dark time so quickly.